everyone. We are back with another episode of the Cowboys Fan versus the World podcast. It's your host with the most, Chris. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. We're here. It's not very fun for me. It's just not. It hasn't been fun this past week, and today, especially today. Today has been the absolute worst. I'm gonna get deep into that pretty soon, but just it's been a very frustrating few hours right before I hit the record button on this podcast. Just we'll get into it. Obviously, it has to do with Ceedee Lamb and the Dallas Cowboys situation is just horrible. But I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the podcast. Make sure you guys head over to any of my social medias: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm on all of them. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel along with. Make sure you listen to this podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, or Apple Podcasts. It comes on all of them after I upload everything. So make sure you guys go check that out and give the podcast a listen in full. We're here today. So it's been a crazy week. So before I go into Cowboys talk today, I kind of want to talk about the Star experience and kind of where the idea came from. So if a lot of you don't know or didn't catch the last episode or see the TikToks or the shorts or anything like that, I was recently in Frisco, Texas last week, and I actually went to the Star, the Dallas Cowboys training facility to actually shoot an episode of the podcast. I thought it'd be a great idea. Cowboys fan, we talk about Dallas Cowboys. We got Cowboys talk on here. I yell into a microphone about how my Cowboys are doing, and it ain't good right now. But I thought, like, why would I not do it in front of the Cowboys training facility? I was pretty close to it. It wasn't super far. So kind of the story of what happened that day. So this is kind of behind the scenes of the actual kind of like what happened going towards it. So I thought of the idea. I think like a couple days before I arrived into town. Sunday night before the recording of the episode, I actually went up to the Star and I kind of just got a feeling for like where I wanted to kind of set up everything and kind of set up, see what's a good angle, if I won't be in people's way, because that was really my big thing. Because if most of you don't know, that field that's there in the middle is actually a public park. The city of Frisco and the Dallas Cowboys made it public. So you can literally like go take your kids, or if you're like just want to go play football, play soccer, whatever. Like you just want to go outside and go play somewhere. You want to go to see the training facility. It's a public park, so it's free for anybody to go. So when I went Sunday night, it was like packed with people. So I'm walking around with my tripod trying to get an idea. I had my camera with me, and I actually like was trying to like see an angle. I didn't take a picture of anybody. Like literally, like I stood in front of the phone or my camera. I used my phone as a camera, actually. Sorry about that. Sorry for the confusion there. But I did that to kind of see like where I wanted to set up. So after I kind of got that down, I got asked if I was a vlogger. That was the funniest part. When I was there Sunday night, a girl came up to me and was like, "Hey, are you vlogging?" I was like, "Oh no, I didn't tell him it was for the podcast. I told him no, I'm just doing something real quick. I'm trying to get a good view for a video." And she's like, "Oh, okay," and then walked away. I was like, "Oh, thank God." I can't handle that. Like that was too much pressure. Like to me, I was like, you know what I mean? Sometimes when you're like that, especially like just random strangers, you don't know who these people are, and you're kind of just like, odd. Okay, mind your business. so so I decided like, all right, finally found my spot. Right, I found the spot. I'm like, all right, cool. And it's not the original. It's not the spot where I shot the video from. I'm gonna explain what happened there. So my plan was to actually line it up in the middle of the Star, like literally like right in the middle, and you can see the entire public park, and you can see the entire display that they have in the front, the video montage that they have there playing. You can see the Tostitos Plaza, everything. So I picked a good spot. It was actually pretty decent. I just, I had to bring extra stuff. I had to bring like a little table, not like this specifically, but like a little one, just so I can hold like the microphone. Well, not really the microphone. I held that in my hand, but like the little audio setup. The helmet could stand right there. I wasn't able to put the helmet in the video, but I was able to like have a little setup. Like I had it like set to where it could work. You could see me, you could see everything. But so Monday morning arrives, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna get up really early in the morning and shoot it. So if you all don't know, really depends on the time of the day when I do shoot the videos or record the episode of the podcast. It either could be at night or during the day. Really just kind of depends on when I have free time. So I decided that Sunday night, hey, I'm gonna go really early in the morning to avoid the public park problem because people will go show up. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna show up really early, bite the bullet, drink an energy drink or something. I drank that and I believe a protein shake for breakfast, and I just took off to the Star like first thing in the morning. So I arrived at the Star like around 7:45 in the morning or something like that. And it was actually pretty funny because I parked the car in a parking garage. I was right next to it, and I had to walk. I was carrying all this stuff. I looked like a freaking weirdo, which I thought was very funny. And I get there, and this is where the angling gets kind of a problem. So I arrive, and there's actually a sign that says private event on the field. So they're doing something, and I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me! They're setting something up, and I can see, like, if you guys saw the YouTube video, if you watched it on YouTube, if you're listening, sorry, I'm trying to describe it the best I can. So where I was set up on the camera, you can see, like, on my, I believe this is my left, so I guess the camera's right. On the right side, you can see, like, people moving around. So what I found out was they were actually, I believe, shooting either a commercial, or they were shooting like a little video thing with Reliant, which is one of their sponsors for the Dallas Cowboys, is Reliant Energy. The only reason why I know that because was is just because at Texas Tech, when I went to school, they signed with Reliant, and it was an armadillo mascot. Like, their mascot's an armadillo. If any of you don't know, so the armadillo mascot and Rowdy the mascot came out, and they were like doing poses. They were shooting a video, and I found this out a little later. But like, I kind of see people setting up, and I arrive. I'm like, oh my god, you got to be kidding me! There's a whole private event, and like, I didn't like I freaked out because I didn't know what I was gonna do. Because I sat there and said, well, I can't be on the field because they're probably gonna use it, so that's out of the door. I can't set up where I was gonna originally gonna set up, which was in the middle. Couldn't do that because I don't know if they're gonna tell me to leave or they're gonna tell me to move. And keep in mind that's like, I had a Dallas Cowboys shirt on. I have my True Brand hat. So I had no idea what these workers were gonna think, and I was like, they're gonna know I don't work for the Dallas Cowboys because they should know who's in the building, and they're probably gonna think, why would a Dallas Cowboys worker be outside of the Star instead of being indoors in the AC? Like, like, it kind of just, stuff like that pops in your head when you already work for the organization. So I was like, what am I gonna do? There's like, I don't know where to put anything. Like, literally, I'm sitting there thinking, where am I gonna put my stuff? How am I gonna set this up? So I sat back and kind of looked at it, and I was on the left hand corner of the actual plaza, the Tostitos Plaza. So I kind of moved to where you can still see, and you can see it in the video. You can see like a seating lamp poster and the whole video going, and a part of the field. And I said, you know what? Screw it, we're gonna put it here. And the reason why is because I wanted to be out of the way as much as possible. Now, if you've seen the Tostitos Plaza, it's literally like this: the field's in the middle, like right here in front of the microphone. If you're watching, right here, the strip is the actual field, and then on the left and the right. So if you look if you're facing the video board, which is this way on the left, that's where the pro shop is, Cowboys Fit, whatever. And then on the other side is an actual hotel. So they were setting up on the side of the hotel right here, which was my right, if you're facing straight forward, like regularly. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I can't be on the hotel side because they're gonna move me, they're gonna kick me out, and I don't want to get, I didn't want to get people in the shot of the video and risk them getting mad or something happening. So I was like, I can't do that. So I decided to be on the left, closer to the pro shop. And so I just angled the phone and the camera to where you could see kind of the field, and you can see the B reel footage and the poster and everything. And I thought it was actually a pretty cool shot. And it actually kind of worked out, like I said, because I was out of the way and I wasn't in the area of where they were shooting the commercial. So I was like, they can't technically kick me out because I'm not on the field. I'm just in the front, so they can't do anything, nor can they really say anything. So, and I wasn't a bother. Like, that was my second problem, is I didn't want them coming up and saying, hey, you got to move, and I got to move everything, and then we got to restart. And I just didn't want to do that. So luckily, they didn't really say anything. They saw me setting up, like literally the workers, the social media people, I guess, or whoever was doing it, saw me there setting up. They didn't question anything. Like, they seriously didn't. They just saw like the Cowboys helmet, me with a Dallas hat and a Cowboys shirt. I know I'm not wearing it right now. This is not the one I'm wearing. It's just Adidas. But you get the point I'm making here. So that's what I wore, right? My Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys shirt, this hat, shorts, and I'm just out there in the morning with shades, because I know the sun's gonna come out. And that was the other thing too. I went early in the morning because that hotel actually blocks sunlight from coming down. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna be in the shade for at least however long I'm gonna film this stuff. So that kind of worked out. Now, here's where things got interesting, because you couldn't see my eyes in the video, but I can actually see people staring at me walking by. You can see in the background people walking, walking past the camera. You could see like on the where the field was, Rowdy and the armadillo walking around, the workers walking around. So, and I did see at one point like these I guess they're kind of like teenagers or 16-year-olds or whatever. They were coming up with a football, and I thought to myself, "Oh my god!" And this was another reason why I did it so early in the morning, is because I knew somebody was gonna freaking mess with my setup. They were gonna throw a ball. They were gonna make a stupid face. Like they weren't gonna mind that I'm trying to shoot something. Like I just didn't want to deal with that. So I shot it early in the morning to basically avoid that, because I know how some people are gonna be, and it's gonna be a more of a headache in the like doing everything and editing a lot more, because I have to stop and tell them to knock it off. You know how it goes. People are gonna mess with you and get a reaction out of you, and it isn't gonna help. So that's another reason I did it so early in the morning. But I did see people walking up, and they saw private event, and I guess because they saw me with a microphone, a helmet, and I was wearing all Dallas stuff, they just assumed I worked there. So nobody asked me any questions, and nobody really bothered me. But I did see them with my shades on. People were starting to come, and I thought about it a little afterwards, and I thought, oh, you know what? People come here early in the morning or in the morning because it's not as hot. Because if you come at 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, forget it. Like it's a pain because it's hot. Ironically, it was actually a pretty breezy day that day, like in the morning for the most part, so it wasn't super bad being out there. But yeah, so a couple of times I did stop talking because people would just stare at me, and I was just like, oh great, people are staring, kind of just bugs me. But they didn't know I was staring. I was looking at them because I had my shades on, and people were walking by, cars were, and like I said, nobody questioned anything because they just saw Cowboys merch on somebody and a microphone and a camera, so they probably just thought I'm just shooting something, for the Dallas Cowboys, which I mean, I wasn't tripping about. I didn't really have a bother, but I was still like, what the heck is going on, Or they were probably like, what's going on? There's a commercial over there. There's somebody with a camera here. What's going on today, But you can always argue it's just a typical Monday morning at the Cowboys training facility. So, I mean, you can always make that argument, which I thought about for a little bit. So, after I shoot everything, I get everything done. I shoot the episode, I do videos for TikTok and YouTube, and then so I'm done, right? So I take everything down, and this was funny. A guy comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, do you know what private event's going on?" I said, no. I told him no, but I have no idea. I actually don't work here. And he's like, "Oh, okay. I just thought with the microphone and the helmet and the cowboy shirt, I thought you worked." I was like, "No, no, no, no. Like I'm doing something for me. Don't worry about it." He's like, I told him, but I don't know what's going on. I guess they're shooting something. I told him like I think they're shooting something because I kind of saw the mascots come out. He's like, "Oh, okay," and then walked off. So I was like, okay, so so that was a pretty funny experience. It was fun. It was a cool experience. I would recommend doing it again. It just really depends on when I would do it again. I guess I did find it funny how people just stared at me and didn't ask any questions. Like nobody asked. And a family member of mine brought it up, and they're like, "Well, if you think about it, I mean, it's how today's day and age are. People probably go vlogging at the Star all the time, or people go get footage, or there's somebody that works for the Dallas Cowboys that's probably out there shooting stuff. Like nobody would stop to think twice. Is essentially like what my family member was getting at. And I was like, yeah, you're right, because it's somebody, they're shooting a commercial in the back. I'm in the front doing stuff. They could just think I'm just getting something for social. So it was a pretty cool experience. It was also just very funny to me. Like I just kind of crack up after thinking about what was going on and kind of all that happened. So I had a crack up. It was a laugh. It was a lot of work, I will say that. So if you guys haven't checked it out, please go check it out. It was not really a hassle to set it up, but it did take a little bit of planning and scouting out the area and all that good stuff. So definitely go check out the video. I think it's pretty cool. You can hear cars in the background, so it's not just a green screen. I don't know if anybody thought it was a green screen. I highly doubt it, because I'm not that skilled to make a whole B-reel in the back like that far away. I'm not skilled enough to do that. So definitely go check out that video if you guys haven't checked it out. If you're listening, listen in. You'll just hear a lot of background audio. Sadly, I can really fix that. But luckily, like I said, it was a lot of fun. I think it was a creative idea. Change of scenery, sometimes change is good. Not all the time, but sometimes change is good. So definitely a lot of fun shooting it there and kind of just being outside. Shooting a podcast episode outside too. I think that's only the second time I've ever done a podcast outside. The first one was when I was on vacation in Galveston, Texas, and I shot it with the beach in the back. So that was actually a pretty cool experience too. But there's nothing that beats the Cowboys training facility in Frisco, the Star. I mean, that's where everybody goes. So it doesn't really beat that. But like I said, had a great time shooting it. It was a lot of fun. It was very funny just seeing people just stare at you. just doing like this, like essentially talking to yourself and looking into a camera. I thought that was like the funniest thing. So definitely would do it again. I'll probably do it again in the near future if I do get the chance to go back to that area. And kind of just see where we go from there. But I wouldn't mind shooting it, maybe like a winter one, like with a. Well, okay, I don't know about winter. Like that, I'm not pushing my luck there. Probably like if it's not super bad and people are at work or at school. Definitely, probably when kids are at school. I think that's a little bit easier to kind of do that because not a lot of children are skipping school in the middle of the winter to be outside. So I don't know. We'll kind of see what happens, and if I'm back in the area and just shoot another episode out there. I mean, might as well. What's the worst thing they could do? Hold a private event, kick me out. Maybe we'll go to AT&T Stadium. Maybe I'll just make the commute to Arlington. I don't know. We'll figure it out. That's probably that's a near future idea, future episode problem. So, but alrighty. So enough of talking about my crazy story with the star. If you consider it crazy, I thought it was just funny. But moving on. We have Cowboys talk today. Just when you just feel like you got kicked in the nuts so bad. This is essentially what I feel. So it was kind of released today by, I believe, Adam Schefter that Ceedee Lamb is actually gonna not attend training camp. And I'm so outraged. I really am. Because I had hope that the Dallas Cowboys were gonna get his contract done before training camp. And I don't know what people seem to think. I don't know why they're thinking that. I don't know why the organization thinks he's still gonna show up. He held out of mandatory minicamp, OTAs. He wants a contract. Like Ceedee Lamb just straight up wants a contract. He's willing to skip everything to do it. And like, okay, let's start with the frustration problem here. Let's start there. I'm very pissed because we haven't given him a contract. Like, I don't know why he hasn't gotten something. There hasn't even been a report about it, like how far it's coming. We keep hearing these hearsay reports of, oh yeah, like we're working on it, or progress is going. Stephen Jones is like, oh yeah, like I'm confident in the progression we're making at the contract extensions with our stars. Total bull. That's what I'm calling it. Total bull at this point. Like, essentially, my question is, so is the contract done? That's literally like my question to his statement. Is the contract done? Let's straight bullet it. And if I hear another, we're in the progress of getting it done, I'm gonna lose my mind because we've been in the process of getting it done for like 4 months already. We've been going at this since the start of the offseason and since the start of the free agency market. We have been stuck on this. We didn't go all in on all these players, so clearly we want to work with the guys we got. Why don't we give this guy his money, his contract? Like, he's holding out. Like, that is my frustration. I don't know if they think it's gonna be like what happened with Dak, where Dak still came. Zeke held out. Zeke was in Cabo working out till he got his contract. Now, that's what my problem is. I'm like, we had Cowboys players in the past actually sit out. Like, they sat out. They took a pay cut till they got their contract, and they realized, okay, we need them more than we thought. We just got to cave in and give them the money. And now with this whole Brandon Aiyuk situation, we'll get to that later. It's just very frustrating to me because CeeDee Lamb deserves it. He was one of the, if he's not if he's not top five receiver, he's definitely top 10 for sure. You can't leave him out of the top 10 selection. He's definitely top 5. In my opinion, he's top 5. Maybe you could argue top 3. But, just he got second. I believe he got third in yards and second in touchdowns. It's one of the two. It's that or it's flipped. I do apologize. I'm just angry. Can't think straight. But he's shown that he could be the number 1 receiver. He just showed it. He showed it this last season when everyone had doubts. Like, that's what I don't understand. Everyone had doubts he can be a number 1. Like I said in a previous episode, 73% of the plays he ran was at outside receiver. So majority of the time he was lined up as a X or a Z, the outside. He was rarely in the slot. He can dominate in both. There's only a few receivers that can actually do that without, having some sort of slowdown or a problem, Justin Jefferson is one of them. He's a versatile receiver, but I think any receiver really in the NFL is versatile. Devontae Adams is a very versatile receiver. He just had a crappy quarterback. DK Metcalf, even though for his size, he's more of an outside guy, but he can line up in the slot and take on a linebacker. Like, the names go on. A.J. Brown could do both. Devontae Smith can do it. And they got their money. Like, let's be real here. Like, let's literally be serious. How is he not? He is getting top numbers. He helped elevate that offense. Like, let's be frank. When we weren't throwing the ball to him that much, how successful was that offense? How much did we struggle when we weren't truly giving him the enough targets, when how much he felt like he should be getting? Once he went into Mark McCarthy and said, "Hey, I want to be that top receiver. Let's get me the ball. You get me the ball, great things are gonna happen." And I swear, if somebody says, "Well, what happened in the playoffs?" There's only so much the receiver can do if the offense is struggling. I'm not just saying the quarterback; the whole offense is struggling. Like, let's keep that in mind. That whole offense struggled in the playoffs. Like, he can only do so much in the playoffs. So you can't really say, well, look at his work in the playoffs. He can't throw the ball to himself and catch it. He can't just go take the ball from Zeke and run the ball. That's not how that works. Against the 49er in the 49er game, I mean, they locked him up. Like, there was like, what can he do about that? That defense was prepared for that offense. Like, let's be frank. It was a battle of the defenses. It was going to be only a matter of who's going to score last at the end, which is essentially what happened. And then the Green Bay game, I mean, Dak didn't play good. The offense didn't do good. The defense let up 40 points. Like, what can he do? What could he have honestly done in that situation that could have helped anything? But since he came in 2020, he's been a top receiver. He's helped that offense even when Amari Cooper was there. They literally took a gamble with him being the number one, letting Amari Cooper go to the Browns, and he stepped up. Like, come on. He literally stepped up when we weren't, and a lot of people weren't sure if he was going to be the number one. Because I remember seeing sport talk shows. I remember people talking about it. Can CeeDee Lamb be number one? And not even just like ESPN guys. Like, I heard podcast episodes about it too. Is questioning, can CeeDee Lamb be a number one? And everyone said, you can't be a number one receiver in the slot. He doesn't. He plays slot all the time. They had another outside receiver, and their scheme with Michael Gallup was that he was a speedster on the outside, so he was more beneficial in the slot. That's kind of how you run an offense. Amari was the proven number one. Michael Gallup is the deep threat, so he could take the safety and the corner away. So what's left? In the middle linebackers who can't keep up with CeeDee Lamb. So it was more of a perfect scheme than anything. That's literally how you scheme stuff. If you have three good receivers, two really good ones and a decent one, it works out. You have a speedster and two versatile receivers. That's exactly how you scheme that. So the whole argument of, well, can you be number one in the slot because he played predominantly slot? That's just where he was positioned. Everybody knew he was wide receiver two. Over Gallup, I thought he should have been over Gallup. But I also know that they schemed it that way because if you put a linebacker on CeeDee Lamb, they're not going to keep up. You put a speedster with a corner, they're gonna make sure that speedster doesn't go far, and then that safety's gonna come over to the high top to cover the speedster, and then obviously they're gonna figure out the number one situation. Either they're gonna put their top corner or they're gonna double team them. So what ends up being open? A slot receiver, or even if they only double team one and guard the other, you still have linebackers on CeeDee Lamb, which was a giant mismatch. So yeah, that's just called scheming. That's called playing football correctly. That's called coaching and being ready for that. That's called Kellen Moore knowing what he's doing, knowing what to do in that situation prior to everything else. But then he got moved to the number one receiver, and we were all nervous. Everybody, I heard podcasts, I heard some Cowboys fans, can he be the number one? Like, I don't like that he's on the slot. I said, dude, look at his highlight tapes at Oklahoma. Just go look how he played in Oklahoma with like three different quarterbacks. Just go look at that. I think he played with Baker, Kyler, and Jalen Hurts. I think he played for Jalen Hurts. I know he played for Kyler and Baker. He played for two Heisman winners. Ask them. Go look at his Oklahoma tapes. He literally could play outside receiver. When he got drafted, I was on the train of let's get CeeDee Lamb. I literally called it before 2020. I called that we should draft CeeDee Lamb. I think he would be a big help to the receiver game. And guess what? We drafted him and he has. And then he moved over to wide receiver one. Now he's a top 5 wide receiver. You can argue top 5, definitely top 10, but you can argue top 5, maybe top 3, depending on who you are. If you're Devontae Adams, you're Devontae Adams. But you can make the argument he is up there. He's definitely one of the best young wide receivers in the league right now. If he's not above Justin Jefferson, which even Justin Jefferson has CeeDee Lamb above him, he's right there next to Justin Jefferson. It's Jay Jetta's CeeDee Lamb. Those are the two, and then Jamar Chase, in my opinion. Jay Jetta's, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar. That's the 3 best young receivers, and then you could throw Brandon Aiyuk in there for 5. But, let's look at the facts here. He is essential to this offense. they can make it work. And even when they double teamed him, they still figured out a way to make it work with CeeDee Lamb. They were able to not only just throw him in the slot just so he can get catches, they threw him everywhere. Let's look at the Detroit game. They had him locked whenever Dak was about to get sacked and he broke it wide open. There are games he freaking went nuts. There were other games where it wasn't so great. But, I mean, hey, you're not going to have 100 receiving yards every freaking game. Just ask anybody in fantasy that had Travis Kelce last year. Not every time you're going to average 100 yards a game. It's not going to happen. Anything happens on any given Sunday. But what does happen is showing that you are worth money. He is worth the investment, which is why I don't understand why he doesn't have a contract. Okay, I just don't get it. I don't know why he doesn't have a contract. And literally time is running out. Like, let's think of it this way. The Dallas Cowboys are running out of time. We are running out of time. Think of it like that because of the whole Brandon Aiyuk situation, right? He wants to get out of San Francisco. He wants to trade, but he's still reported to training camp. And I think the only reason why, we'll get a little bit more specifically, is just because he wants to up his stock, which, I mean, he's going to do either way. But what happens if he gets his contract before CeeDee Lamb? You know dang well CeeDee Lamb's going to turn around and say, he just got top dollar, where's my money? How come that guy literally is threatening to leave and he got his check, which I don't think he'll get it either way. But let's just do the hypotheticals here. That's what I mean by we're running out of time. Brandon Aiyuk is willing to come to training camp to at least, get stuff done, to up his stock if he decides to walk next year. CeeDee Lamb is straight up refusing to come to training camp. Whether you see it as, well, Brandon Aiyuk's just taking the high road, he's going to go bet on himself, whatever. CeeDee Lamb doesn't need to bet on himself. He bet on himself last season, in my opinion. He literally showed last season why he is the top receiver. He showed it to everyone. I had a conversation with a dude on my previous episode that he's only a slot. When I explained 73% outside. Sounds more like a versatile receiver. So you can't say he's a one-trick pony, because he's not. He can run the outside, inside. He's a great route runner. He's got great speed. What is the problem? He was top 5 in rush. He was top 5 in receiving and touchdown passes. What else do we need? What else does he need to do? Win an MVP? Because Dak didn't even get that this year, and he had a great year. Like, what else does he need? Like, that's my question. Like, what does CeeDee Lamb need to prove at this point? Like, what does he need to prove? Because I don't know what he needs to prove. Like, maybe Jerry Jones. We'll get to that in a second. And maybe Jerry Jones can explain it. Or Stephen Jones. Somebody in that front office can explain. Why have we not given him his contract? Like, come on. Now, keep in mind, this is all based on this recording. Like, as of this recording, he has not gotten his contract. Because I swear, if it changes the next day that he got his contract, I'm going to be bad. I probably won't redo this episode, but I'll definitely add in that he did. Probably add it like right around here that, hey, by the way, he did get his contract. Just enjoy the rant. But I doubt he will, because it was reported that he's not going to. I did see a thing on Twitter, though, that some dude said, it was reported that CeeDee Lamb is scared of flying, so he's actually driving from Dallas to Oxford. I've never heard of that. I thought that was very weird, because they fly to their away games. There's literally pictures of him getting on a jet. And I think he claimed that, Trayvon Diggs is driving with him from Dallas to Oxford. But do you know how long that freaking takes? From Dallas to Oxford, just the city of El Paso to freaking California is almost basically a whole day. It's about probably 9 to 10 hours right there. And then going to Anaheim is another 2 from the California state border. Oxford is a lot farther, and Dallas is a whole lot farther. That's probably close to, let's see, if it's 10 to the California state from El Paso, you add 9. That's 19 hours right there, not including getting to Oxford, California. So, yeah, you're probably looking at about an above 24-hour drive. That doesn't make any sense. Like, it's literally cheaper to just fly the freaking trip than drive all the way to California and then drive all the way back to Frisco, Texas. And there's pictures of him getting on a plane. That's why I didn't understand that tweet, but whatever. I don't know whose people's sources at this point, and just whatever. But it just doesn't make any sense. And this is where I move on to in this Cowboys talk. We're talking about the owner now. Like, what is Stephen Jones's problem, and what is Jerry Jones's problem? Because this doesn't work out for them in the end. Like, it hasn't. The last 3 people that they've paid It has not worked out of, oh, well, we'll just move on to the next guy. Here's the three. Zeke. They were like, you know what, whatever, and then we didn't have that good of a running back. They gave him the money. Dak. They were not sure if they want to bring him back. They said, you know what, bet on yourself 2020. He said, I bet, I got you. Broke his ankle. And then they still gave him money because guess what? They saw how horrible we were without Dak Prescott. So now Jerry Jones goes, you know what? Now I got to give him his money. I can't fight anymore. The third person I'm bringing up is Zach Martin because remember Zach Martin wanted to restructure his contract last season and he threatened to not play. Granted, that guy has a lot of money at this point. He was top guard in the NFL, still probably the best guard in the NFL, even despite his age, and he may retire. That's really gonna hurt my feelings, and I'm gonna cry if that actually happens. But what happened with all three of them? Whether the contract was a good idea or not, what did Jerry Jones do? He caved. He caved in and paid those guys because why? He needed them. Maybe Zeke might be a different argument, but let's go with the top two, the two recent ones, Dak and Zach Martin. He saw that we needed Dak because we were horrible without Dak, and we were definitely not going to lose the best guard in the game because they put in a backup and said, oh, well, let's try out a backup. Let's try a younger guard that's been learning behind Zach Martin. That kid got blown up all preseason. That was with the preseason players. And I'm sure Jerry Jones said, hey, Zach, hey, bud, you want to come out to my office? Let's talk business. And he restructured his freaking contract. Like, see how that worked? He still caved in no matter what. That's why I don't understand what the problem is. And it's going to be like the Dak situation. If you wait too long, the market's going to be way too high. And then at that point, it's going to be super unrealistic to keep what they want to keep. Now, if granted, that's the reason why is because they're shuffling money to see how they're going to keep all three, then I think they should probably come out and say that instead of, oh, the progress for these three guys. Maybe they don't want to explain too much of their plan, but still, it just makes it seem like they don't want to pay anybody. Like, they're like, why don't they want to pay anybody? Dak, you can make the argument if they should or shouldn't. Micah, he still has another year left, and he picked up his fifth-year option. So he has time. They have time to figure that out. I think, in my opinion, Micah has time. Like, they can wait on Micah because they picked up his fifth year, and they're definitely not trading him away. But Ceedee Lamb's on the final year of his contract. He's not playing for $17.95 million, I believe, is his contract, or $17.05. I know it's $17 million he's refusing to play on. And like I said, Jerry Jones caved in the last three big contracts he had right. He caved with the wide receiver thing when they let go of Dez. When they released Dez, he was like, you know what? I believe in the receivers. I think Dak can get the job done. We freaking sucked without a wide receiver one. He caved in. Because Jerry Jones loves his draft picks. Let's keep in mind that. He will not give up his draft picks for any reason. He loves drafting his dudes. He traded a number one pick for Amari Cooper from the Raiders. I believe in 2018. 2018. That's what he did. And guess what? Our offense got a whole lot better. We made a push for the playoffs. I should know because I went to the Philadelphia game right before Christmas, right after Christmas in 2018 when Amari Cooper just went off and he got the game-winning overtime touchdown, and he made a crazy catch. Like, he caved. He caved and gave up a first-round pick. He caved for the Zeke thing. He caved for Dak. He caved for Zach Martin. What is the pattern? Jerry Jones caved. So I don't know what's the problem with it now. Now, okay, here's the devil's advocate here, is I did hear that, he doesn't want to make that mistake again. He did it with Zeke. You can argue he did it with Dak. He definitely didn't. I definitely know he didn't do it with Zach Martin. But with Zeke and Dak, he made the mistake, and he doesn't want to do that again. We need a top receiver. Mike McCarthy's offense worked when we had a number one wide receiver. Because who are we going to throw in at number one? Brandon Cooks? No disrespect to Brandon Cooks. I think he's great. I don't know why he hasn't stayed on a team for longer than 3 years. But they're just going to double cover him. And then we got to rely on Jalen Tolbert, which I'm not saying he's a bad receiver, but I haven't seen enough to go and say, yeah, I'm going to trust that kid to be the next number one. I know he's the sleeper. Trust me, I'm hoping he's going to have a big year this year because that's definitely going to help out if he can. But let's face it. Are we sure he can be that number one if we let go of Ceedee? We're not too sure. Then we have to go to the draft or find someone. Either way, we got to cave and get somebody. Kevontae Turpin, he was great in the USFL. I think they're probably going to use him more in this offense because, we're going to have to because Gallup was gone. Brandon Cooks is there, and then we really wide receiver 3 and 4 are kind of just who are we gonna put there at this point? Well, Tolbert probably will be 3, but who's gonna be 4? Probably Cavante. So I'm sure he'll be integrated in that offense some way somehow, but it's not going to work without Ceedee Lamb. Like, let's be real, that offense is not going to work without Ceedee. Especially with, I explained in the last episode, my biggest question marks with the running backs. They're going to be reliant on that passing game, like they just are, because like I don't like unless that running game gets super strong and that line can just dominate. I really don't see them moving from their passing game and saying, you know what, look at that Ceedee, like we ran the ball perfectly fine and we did well without you. That's not realistic, nor is that gonna happen, like at all. Like let's be frank, it ain't gonna happen, and this is like literally due time. Like that's why I don't understand what Jerry Jones's problem is, and I don't understand why the Joneses won't give him his money. He makes a lot of sense. He is a top 5 receiver, and if you look at the top receivers, they all got pretty good pennies coming in. Devontae Adams got a good penny. Deebo Samuel, you can say George Kittle. What's it called? Jay Jettas, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith got a freaking extension. And CeeDee Lamb, I think, is better than Devontae Smith. Yeah, no, I know he's better than Devontae Smith. So what's the problem, Jerry? Like I want to know what the problem is. Like what is halting everything? Because at this point we don't know, and we're kind of like it's literally the breaking point because it's training camp. Training camp started. Like we're starting training camp, and your star first round draft pick is not in the building, and he is not coming to he's not going to Oxford without a contract. Like I said, as of this recording, there has not been anything. So keep that in mind. Nothing has happened yet. Nothing has happened yet as of this recording. Here, I'll even check for you. Yep, absolutely nothing. So just a lot of pent up frustration from this boy, just losing it, just not being patient. Like I'm losing my patience with this owner because you can't be doing this like at all. Like we just can't. We can't be doing this. Jerry, please, let's just get it together. Like let's just go about it and figure it out from there. Like come on. Let's just get this contract done. Let's get this contract done because they can figure out what they're gonna do with Dak. Honestly, they could just wait for Dak. Like you can do this route, Jerry, if you want to listen. Pay CeeDee Lamb now. Tell Dak, hey, we'll figure out your pay after the season. He's already getting paid a bunch of money either way. He's willing to play under the final contract. Guess what? Now let's figure it out. Like, hey, let's talk now. If they want to do it that way. Like I said, Micah, they picked up his 5th-year option, so that one you don't have to worry until after his 5th year, which is, I think next year. Next year is going to be his fourth. Actually, next year will be his 4th year. So they picked up his 5th. So Micah can honestly wait unless they want to pay him soon, because someone's going to want to pay him eventually. But I don't think Micah's going to leave. I think I don't know if he'll take a hometown discount, Dallas Cowboys discount, but I'm sure he'll be more flexible with his contract. Maybe not. I'm not too sure, but Dak, I feel like at this point, put him later on. Put him like in the put him second, because right now CeeDee Lamb is important, and CeeDee Lamb is not there. Dak is there at Oxford. Micah is there at Oxford. Trayvon Diggs, your top paid, or not top paid anymore, but your corner's coming back. He's there. Everybody's there, but your star receiver. You need to pay him right now because he is serious and he is willing to hold out. And if he holds out all the training camp and he doesn't get any reps, not that I'm scared he's gonna lose sync with Dak, because I think Dak came out and said like he's not worried about losing a connect with him because they did work together and they have been working together. So I'm not too upset, but it's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to be great if CeeDee Lamb is not in the building by the time. At this point, get him in before preseason. Get the contract done before the preseason, just so you can get him into the building. You can get him into Oxford. You can get him into Frisco. We can figure this out, but like we need to do it now. Time's running out for the Dallas Cowboys, and right now, Jerry Jones is on not even borrowed time. He is on the house is on fire. Either you put it out or this place is burning. That's where I'm at right now with Jerry Jones and Dallas Cowboys. But alrighty, we're going to keep talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Just like I said, aside of all the frustration, aside of all this pent-up aggression, I want to look at a positive here. Let's look at a positive for the Dallas Cowboys real quick. I did see that our what's it called? One of our draft picks that's going to be on the offensive line, they're doing great. The Guyton and Cooper. the Kansas State kid that's going to be at center. I did hear they're progressing pretty well. There are reports coming out that they're fitting in quite well with the offense, and they are actually, being adjusted. Cooper is adjusting to center really well, projected to be the starting center, and then Guyton's going to be left tackle while they keep Tyler Smith at guard. Now, I do know that there was a little bit of controversy there because everyone felt that you should just put Guyton at guard and then put Tyler Smith back at tackle because he did. I think he did well in both. I know he played tackle when Tyrone Smith was gone, and then they put him at guard when Tyrone Smith came back. So I think he could play both, but I do think that keeping Tyler Smith in one spot is definitely going to be very helpful. Just so not for confusion, because I mean he can do it either way. He's in the NFL for a reason. But I think Tyler Smith staying at guard. I believe he's a stronger guard. I mean he had a great season this last year. Now Guyton, on the other hand, I think he's still going to be a good left tackle. I don't know if he'll fill the void of Tyron Smith. That is going to be the biggest question mark, is if he can fill in. I mean, those are pretty big shoes to fill. Tyron Smith is going to be a Hall of Famer. He's considered one of the best left tackles in the game. Especially in his prime, he was seen as the one of the best left tackles, if not the best left tackle in football, along with the rest of that found the Great Wall of Dallas. So I'm happy that what's it called? Guyton is fitting in. I know that there was a lot of concerns about that if he was going to have to compete for the starting tackle spot, but there were reports from not even just from like Twitter or anybody like that or anybody from the Cowboys like straight organization, but out of straight out of training camp and insiders from there saying that he's actually adjusting great to the offense and they're actually really liking Tyler Guyton. And what's honestly pretty good is that I knew this day was going to come. Eventually, like the Great Wall of Dallas was officially going to be gone. The only person that's still there from the original Great Wall is Zach Martin. I mean, Travis Frederick, I mean, he had to retire, sadly. Doug Free retired. Tyron Smith was gone. And I believe, I'm forgetting who the left guard was, but I got 4 out of 5. God, you need to call me a Cowboys fan, but I can never get the left guard. I always forget who the left guard was, but I know for sure it was Doug Free, Martin, Travis Frederick, somebody here, and then it was Tyron Smith. So I figured this day would come because that line was getting old. Not that they were getting old in a bad way, but the offensive line was still great. I mean, they were just veterans of the game. It's just I figured at some point that line was going to start not really depleting, but it was going to start, taking that taking that step back from having those older veterans to start bringing in a new bunch to rebuild that Great Wall of Dallas. So I am pretty happy that Dallas did get a left tackle. I was actually really happy with our draft picks. We went offensive line due to the departure of Tyler Bionis. He left. Tyron Smith left. So we were really, really stagnant right there. So having them and then having Tyler Smith, who's not that far out from being from his rookie year. So I mean, he's not he's not too far out from them, so he can definitely help them out, especially since they know he's a little bit around their kind of around their age, and then having just the veteran presence of Zach Martin, the best guard in the game, definitely first ballot Hall of Fame guard. He's gonna go down, not even just in Canton, Ohio. He's gonna be Hall of Famer for the Dallas Cowboys too, hands down. Like if he doesn't get a first ballot, that's absolutely nuts. Considered the best guard in the game. I still think he is the best guard in the game. I did see a statistic that said Zach Martin has more Pro Bowl appearances than personal penalties. Yeah, that's if you need an explanation on how good Zach Martin is, and I believe there was one season when I think it was La'el Collins got hurt and we didn't have a right tackle that could be right there. It was before Terrence Steele came in, and they put Zach Martin at right tackle, and he literally dominated right tackle. So I think it was 2020. I think that was the year everything was just going straight down the mountain. So I mean, but I am very happy. Cooper, that was my biggest scare because I know he played guard, but he was versatile. So definitely having that younger center there from Kansas State, that kind of fills it up because I know there was a lot of question marks with the backup center just because it was like, oh, I know the Cowboys didn't have too much faith in him. So definitely getting a center and him and Cooper looking like he's gonna be I think he's gonna be the starter. It's really gonna come down to the preseason snaps and how he's gonna run with the team one. I'm sure Dak's not gonna play. Trey Lance is gonna get most of the snaps and Cooper Rush, but they're more likely gonna play with like string one receivers. Just Dak won't play just because they gotta make sure he doesn't get hurt. So I think that's what's really going to come down to for Guyton and Cooper is going to be the preseason games. I mean, I know a lot of people say that's not important, but definitely for the rookies, because then we could tell if we're going to need more help or we're I can live with our picks, which I think we can. I think we're going to live with our picks. I mean, like I said, they have all the help they can get. That whole right side of Steele, I think is still pretty strong. I think Steele's kind of the weakest link between them, but comparing him and Zach Martin, I mean, come on. Tyler Smith is a strong guard on the left side, and then just having the two rookies at one at the left tackle in the center. I mean, I'm pretty excited, especially having that young core. That's what we did when the Great Wall was being first built in Dallas. I mean, we started off really young. I know there was a lot of criticism when we took Zach Martin over Johnny Manziel, but hey, look how that worked out. So jokes on everybody else. so, so take that, everybody. Got the best guard in the game over sadly, a sad NFL draft bust. I'm still hurt by that. I'm still very hurt about the Johnny Manziel thing. But whatever, that's past my sadness right there. Let's move on to our next thing, looking around the NFL. I told you we were going to talk about Brandon Aiyuk. We're talking about the 49ers, our hated rivals. At this point, I'm starting to hate them more than the Eagles just because we beat the Eagles so much, but we can't freaking beat the 49ers recently. So we're talking about Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk demanded a trade. He wants to get paid. He wants out of San Francisco. They're saying he doesn't want out of San Francisco. They're not going to trade him, but he did report to mandatory training camp. Now, here's the deal. I believe right now this is the first domino of the fall of the San Francisco 49ers. This is the first one to go. Now, here's what I mean. Because even before the start of the podcast, I did talk to somebody about this, that they're throwing money around like it's not a consequence. Like, look who is getting paid top dollar on that team. George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey just got a giant pay raise. And they're going to run out of money because guess who's up next to get paid? Brock Purdy. Their last pick in the draft, who's not even, I think like literally his last season, he's making like barely $1 million because he was the last pick in the draft. He was literally Mr. Irrelevant. And they're about to pay him top dollar. They're going to give him a lot of money. So this is what I mean by this is about to be the fall of the 49ers because there's a lot of people on that team that have a very hefty price. Now, is it necessarily a bad thing to have a bunch of superstars on your team? Absolutely not. I mean, ask the LA Rams. They went in all in on superstars one year and they won the Super Bowl. But the difference between the Rams and the 49ers, the Rams won the Super Bowl. Now, granted, the Rams didn't have to play the Chiefs, but still, either way. My point is that they have a lot of studs and they have a lot of stars. They have a lot of big personalities, like Deebo. Deebo has a big personality. I have nothing against him. I think he seems like a great guy. He's definitely a great player. But let's not forget when he was holding out too for a contract. Let's not forget when Nick Bosa threatened to not go to camp because he wanted a big contract. Because he's considered one of the, if not the best, one of the best defensive ends in the game. Heck yeah, I think he's better than Joey. But they want a lot of money. They pay George Kittle a lot of money. They're paying Fred Warner a lot of money. So when is it going to come to for the 49ers that we're running out of money and we can't just be throwing big contracts at people? And I think this is the first blockage because they don't have money right now for Brandon Aiyuk. Like that's literally what they're saying is we don't have money for you, and they're trying to get ready to figure out how they're going to pay Brock Purdy. Now Brock Purdy can pull a Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes and say like, you know what, I'll take a little bit of a deal if that means I'm keeping my team. I think, long-term wise, Patrick Mahomes' contract is, I think, like number 10 or something like that for highest paid, so it worked out in the long run. But Tom Brady never took top quarterback money because he wanted all those superstars around him. He wanted a good team instead of getting all that money because he knew he was going to make money either way. But Brock Purdy's up next. He's literally the up next quarterback to get paid, to be the highest paid, especially because he over... You want to talk about way overachieved? Like, I know I hate on the 49ers. I don't like the 49ers. They make my life miserable. But I'll give flowers where they're deserved because Brock Purdy, who wasn't even supposed to, let's be realistic, play in the NFL, came in when Trey Lance was hurt, Jimmy Garoppolo was hurt, and he came in and took over the NFL. Nobody thought the last pick in the draft would end up, doing well as everybody expected. Now, you can say it's Kyle Shanahan's offense. It works with any quarterback. They make it, you can make it work. You can do all these things. If Trey Lance was healthy, it probably would have worked. Garoppolo still got him to a Super Bowl, so really, who is it? Is it Brock or is it Kyle Shanahan? Either way, he's making it work. He's still getting the Super Bowls. He's still making runs in the playoffs. They're still having a top offense. It doesn't change the fact that they still have a good defense. But you're going to have to start paying people. The Pipers do. And right now, Brandon Aiyuk is livid that he doesn't have a contract. Now, this is where I'm kind of like wondering why they just don't trade him. Like, literally just get the value for him. Because I can name two teams at the top of my head that want him, which is the Patriots, because they need a true number one, and then the Commanders have been wanting him for a long time. Don't send him to the Commanders. I swear, if they do it out of pity, I'm gonna lose my mind. But I mean, they could get a first round pick out of him. Like literally, like he's worth it. Depending on who you ask, he's worth at least a round one or a round two pick, or maybe a round three and a player swap, if you really want to go that route. But the 49ers are refusing to trade him, so he's not going anywhere. And Brandon Aiyuk is fed up. I think this is why he's going to training camp. This is where I'm coming back to this. He is going to build up more stock and a stronger case to get traded, or for a team to come get him. For a team to say, you know what, we'll give you what we can for Brandon Aiyuk, and they know, and he knows they're gonna pay him after the season. Like that is definitely what a lot of teams are trying to do, but the 49ers aren't going to allow it. Now, I believe the 49ers aren't going to allow it just because they know Brandon Aiyuk is crucial. I mean, he led the team in receiving yards and catches last year, even with Debo there and George Kittle. He still had a really good season. So he's a proven number one. I think he can be a number one. At first I always thought it was just Debo Samuel, but when Debo Samuel got hurt, Brandon Ayuk stepped up. So I think what's it called? Brandon Ayuk can be a number one somewhere else. It's a matter of who's going to take that chance on him, and I think anybody in the NFL is going to do it. But let's be realistic here. For the 49ers, they can't just be paying everybody top money because they're going to start losing players at some point. And right now, this is the domino right here. This is domino number one because they're about to lose Brandon Aiyuk, so he's going to be gone. And they're hoping that their first round pick from Florida is going to be able to replace him. And that's why they picked him. In case they lose Brandon Aiyuk, they have a replacement ready to go. And they still have Debo Samuel, who's getting paid a lot of money. Christian McCaffrey's getting paid a lot of money. And Brock Purdy's up next. So there's a lot of guys on that payroll that's being paid pretty top dollar. Nick Bosa's another one. But, I mean, ask the Rams. Like, they paid a lot of people a lot of money. And how many of them left? How many of them got hurt? How many of them do they owe in dead money? Like, let's think about it. So this is like a kind of like I said, the first domino to fall for the 49ers because Brock Purdy is up, and if they pay Brock Purdy before they pay Brandon Ayuk, he is out the door. I still think he's out the door after this season. He's literally out the door. Like I don't think he wants to stay. I think no, they did say he wants to stay in San Francisco. It's just he doesn't want to play under his current contract from 2020, which I don't blame him. He's been a pretty helpful piece to that offense, and I know that's why the 49ers don't want to get rid of him because they know with Brandon Ayuk there, it gives them a way better chance of that offense running really well compared to like if he wasn't there because I mean if Debo gets hurt they don't really they literally don't have a good wide receiver left if Brandon Ayuk leaves and he gets hurt. Who knows what kind of year George Kittle will have? He'll either have a great year or he may have an okay year. I think last year he had an okay year because he had games where he went off, and then there were games where he didn't really get much catches. So, but I know he doesn't really care. He's like, if I get the ball, I get the ball. If I don't, I get to go block and hit people. Either way, he's an interesting guy. I like his simple mindedness. He's like, if I don't catch the ball, I mean, hey, as long as we win and I'm getting paid and I get to hit people for fun, I'll take it. So I don't blame George Kittle on that one. I don't think he'll really care. But everybody else is getting paid top dollar there. They're going to care. And I'm sure someone else is going to come to the 49ers and say, hey, I want a raise or I need a contract extension. And they're going to have to say no because once they pay Brock Purdy, a lot of their stars are going to start leaving. Not because they want to, but because they can't afford them anymore. Or someone's gonna want them and say we can take them off your hands and we can help you with that debt you're gonna owe the NFL. So the 49ers, I mean, they know what's coming. Like they're not dumb. They know what's coming. They gotta pay Brock Purdy. They're gonna pay Brock Purdy. But are they gonna risk the integrity of having this dominant of a team still be there to pay one of these two guys, or are they gonna secure their quarterback for the future? Now, granted, you're gonna secure the quarterback for the future no matter what. But is it going to be worth, letting Brandon Aiyuk go or anybody else that may want to leave? I think Trent Williams is another one that's getting paid top dollar too. I just thought about that because he's one of the best left tackles right now. So So like let's think of it. Like what are they literally gonna do when Brandon Ayuk leaves and there's gonna be other players that are gonna say, hey, I want to get paid too, pretty good penny, or I walk out the door because you're gonna pay Brock Purdy. They're just gonna run out of money. Like essentially, like that's what's gonna happen. They're paying all these guys good money, but at the end of the day, you're gonna run out and you're gonna run out of salary cap to bring in people to help your $60 million quarterback because Debo's contract is too much, Christian McCaffrey's contract is too much, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, George Kittle. There's going to be a lot of guys with a lot of money coming in, and they're just going to have to build through the draft, which isn't a bad idea. I mean, teams do it all the time, but that's another gamble you're going to have to take, or you're going to have to hopefully find someone that wants to ride the coattails. Jennings, that was another one. He got a raise before Brandon Ayuk. I was like, there was somebody else that got a pay raise. It's Jennings. Jennings, he got brought back, and he got paid before Brandon Aiyuk. So there's a lot of guys right now that are getting paid right now a little bit more than Brandon Aiyuk, and Brandon Aiyuk has put in a lot of work. So, like I said, this is probably going to be the first. This is going to be the start of the fall of the 49ers because if they don't win right now and try to convince Brandon Aiyuk to stay on a decent deal, like that big old fancy super team that they got is, I believe it's going out the door because there's no way they're going to be able to keep all those key players and pay all of them to keep them happy. That's just not going to be realistic unless they win the Super Bowl and they're like, you know what, if we can go again, but they still haven't won a Super Bowl. Let's keep that in mind. They went twice in the last 5 years. They went in 2020, 2021. They went last year and they lost both times to the Chiefs, and they don't even have a top paid wide receiver on their team. So let's kind of keep that in mind. He's just the best quarterback in the NFL right now. But let's look at it that way. So I think that the 49ers are going to make a I think they're going to be just screwed either way. They're screwed if they pay Brandon Aiyuk because they won't have money for Brock Purdy, and I'm sure someone's going to pay Brock Purdy money to come in. Like I said, there's a couple teams that are going to need quarterbacks, especially if they're going to let some go. Like Tua, if the Miami lets Tua go, I'm sure they would love to bring Brock Purdy in and see if it'll work. You know, so someone's going to want Brock Purdy too. So let's not think like, oh, well, Brock Purdy's not going to get much. Someone's going to want him, but if you could get a little more value for Brandon Aiyuk, I mean, I would just trade him. He wants out. You want to save money for your quarterback that's coming up. Just you can get a first. I think the most you can get is a first round out of Brandon Aiyuk. So if the 49ers play it smart, they can get a lot out of the situation. But if they don't, it's gonna be the fall of that team. Like literally that's gonna be the first domino, and the rest are just gonna fall from there on out. Alrighty, moving on to for another segment of around the NFL little series we've been coming up with 3 things I want to see this season. I did get this from a TikTok follower. I don't know his name, but I know he has like 3 little stars. So shout out to him. He commented on my TikTok asking to do the Seattle Seahawks. I got you, my guy, doing the Seattle Seahawks. So 3 things I want to see from the Seattle Seahawks this season. So number one is I want to see the second year improvement from Jackson Smith and Jigba, the wide receiver that they drafted from the Ohio State University. I think he's gonna be a good receiver. He did pretty good with the reps he got and the snaps and the catches he got. I think he's gonna be a great receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. He's gonna pair well with DK Metcalf on the outside, but I think because they have Tyler Lockett and he's just a veteran presence, that's what's really not really gonna slow him down. But I think that's what's kind of preventing him from being wide receiver two, like permanent wide receiver two. But I know Tyler Lockett's getting older in age. He's been in the league for so long. Let's be real here. He's been in the league for so long. So Jackson Smith and Jigba's like his chance is gonna go up, and I know he's gonna probably see a lot more opportunities this season to get more max reps and show that he is a long term answer for the receivers. He's gonna be there to stay. I think he loves it in Seattle. He loves Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's just a great coach all around. So I want to see like kind of the improvement of that. I think he is gonna get better. He's gonna grow to be like one of the top receivers in the league. But I want to see him take that giant leap this next year coming up, especially since I know he's gonna get a lot of opportunities this upcoming season to get more max reps and just basically elevate his game and become like basically create like the scariest duo, if not trio, of receivers in that division. All right, so next up, the things I want to see. I want to see what's going to happen to Geno Smith. What I mean by that is last year wasn't his best year. Not compared to his first year in Seattle where he was able to lead that team to the playoffs, but last year he just wasn't the best. But I want to see what's going to happen because I know he's getting older. He's been in the league for so long. I think for about over 10 years now I know he's been in the league for over a decade now. So I want to see what's going to happen with Geno Smith because Is he gonna be the answer for the next 2 to 3 years? How much longer are they gonna keep him? If he has a bad season, they're gonna let him go. Like I think like this is gonna be kind of the make or break for Geno Smith. If he has a really great year, they're gonna keep him. If not, they may start looking for his replacement after the season. Not like immediately, but for sure they're gonna start preparing for his replacement. So I want to see if Geno Smith can, kind of recreate that magic he had with his first season with the Seahawks and just, put on a show. I mean, they were only one game out of the playoffs last year. They were in the wild card, so I mean, they're not completely out. I know he got injured. They had to throw in Drew Lock, so I kind of threw off some numbers, but that's another thing that's a concern. And like I said, he's up there in age, so I want to see if Geno Smith can make that kind of rekindle that magic he got when he first got to Seattle, giving hope and not giving up on his NFL dream, or if he struggles again or gets hurt. I think the Seattle Seahawks might be looking for his replacement in the near future. Alrighty, so last thing I want to see from the Seattle Seahawks, I want to see them make the wild card. Like I said, last season, they were one game off. They were a game and a half, I believe, behind the LA Rams for the final spot in the wild card. They could have made the playoffs. Like I said, and they had a lot of crazy things happen. Their defense, they had injuries. Geno Smith got hurt, like I said. I think Kenneth Walker got hurt at some point. But like I said, that trio of receivers is going to make it work. Pete Carroll's a great coach in his own right, so he'll make it work and he'll get that team wins. And I don't think he's going to be on the hot seat to get fired because, I mean, he still has good seasons even though like they're struggling. But I do want them to make the wild card. Like I said, they were only a game out. I don't believe they're going to win the division just because their division is so tough. They got to go through the 49ers. The Cardinals, we'll see what's going to happen with them. And then you move on to the LA Rams, which is now with Aaron Donald gone, it's kind of like it's up in the air. Stafford's getting older. What's it called? And it's just kind of a lot of question marks with that team right now. So really, their top two is going to be in my opinion, the Rams still because they're still a good team, and it's going to be definitely the 49ers. But I don't think their schedule is super strong. It's not super hard. It's not one of the toughest that I saw. Kind of just skimming through it. So I do think there is a chance for them to make the wild card. So it's definitely doable. I believe they can make the wild card. I know there's a couple teams that may not make it this year. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. But I do think at least that would be the third thing is I want to see them make the wild card because I think that they have a good enough team. They have a good enough offense. I mean, Kenneth Walker, like I said, that trio of receivers. If Geno Smith can stay healthy, and then that defense looks scary on paper. So I think they can. They have potential to make a lot of noise in the NFC this upcoming season. But like I said, if they can stay healthy and reduce a lot of the injuries, I think they at least can make the wild card for sure. So I do want to see them make the wild card because, like I said, they were only a game and a half out from the LA Rams. So they definitely have the squad to do it and they have the coach to do it. So I want to see them make the playoffs this year. But alrighty, guys, that's going to wrap things up on this episode of the Cowboys Fan versus the World podcast. Make sure you follow me on all of my social media at Cowboys Fan versus the World, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm on all of it. Make sure you catch up on the latest episodes if you missed any on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to go see me at the Star and kind of see what I'm talking about through my story. Go check it out. Like I said, give it a look for sure. It was a lot of not really just a lot of work, but it was, it took some planning and kind of getting out there. So it was definitely, like I said, it was definitely worth it either way. I love visiting that place. So, but still, definitely go check it out. Make sure you guys keep on up with everything that's going on. Training camp has started. I know a lot of teams are reporting the training camp. Very excited. Hey, we're only a few more weeks. We're only a few more weeks left till we start football, NFL, college football, whatever you're into. We're almost there, everybody. We're almost there. It feels like it's going to be the longest month of our lives, month and a half, but we're almost there. We're getting close. I'm excited. Not without CeeDee Lamb, but we'll have to see what happens with that. But alrighty, guys, I'll catch y'all later. See you in the next episode.